Hi everybody, Aaron Cowan, Sage Dynamics. This week's questions answered video. You write fiction? As they say, I contain multitudes. Yes, I do write fiction, thriller if you want. Some of you probably are not strangers to my writings. You've seen the articles that I've written in the past. I don't really write articles anymore. I've taken almost everything to video format here on this channel and anywhere else it finds its way on the internet because video is a little more easily accessible, and I do tend to write very, very long, arduous articles. I still write for gun-focused things. If you're not familiar, I did a white paper recently on red dot sights for handguns for duty use. It's on the Sage Dynamics website. If you haven't heard about it, you can check it out. Really good way to justify the use of red dots, to include some very comprehensive years-long research. Justify the use of red dots for either personal carry or for self-defense, and give you some good talking points for anybody who has questions about why red dots are so great, because they're the future, but kind of beside the point. On the fiction side, I've been writing since I was in middle school, actually before that really, but actually trying to write books. I wrote my first book in middle school and it was awful. I didn't think so at the time. I thought it was really cool and I was some kind of savant and I was going to be the earliest published author. None of that actually happened because along with writing, I have a very bad case of procrastination when it comes to trying to promote myself as a writer. If I had my way, I would be a full-time author and a part-time firearms instructor, but sometimes you got to pick one of your passions and go with it and which one's going to be more functional. This one kind of worked out a little bit better, but I still write as a hobby, and if I can make a little money on it on the side as a business, that's great, but that's not my main motivation in doing it. I do it because I have an unquiet mind. I like to get the ideas out there. The specific question really had to do with like what motivates me to write, and I guess it's just because I have stories in my mind that I want to tell. The problem when it comes to writing a book is you can't tell a story that hasn't in some way already kind of been told. Shakespeare himself said there's only X amount of stories that are out there. If anybody's going to know about writing, I would hazard a guess that someone like Shakespeare would know quite a bit about it. I don't know of a single writer, even to this day, that was able to expound and deliver such a rich vocabulary. We kind of scoff at the idea of people like Shakespeare today because he's so outdated, or it's not something you're just going to pick up and read because it reminds you of high school drama class. But depth, enrichment, and development of characters, that was definitely his domain. So the story, the current books that I have, there's two of them. I publish on Kindle and the Kindle app. It's not actually in print paperback just because most everything is digital. Me personally, any kind of nonfiction book I buy and I want a physical copy of it, whereas fiction, thrillers, mysteries, things like that, I don't mind having those just in digital format because it's not like I'm going to need to pull it off the shelf and reference it for some reason, most likely. There's, of course, a few exceptions to that, but for the most part, I'm fine with that existing in digital format. Not an Audible either, so even though they are technologically savvy and the fact that you can read them on your phone or your tablet or your iPad or your PC, they're not available in audio format, but that's kind of beside the point. It's a series. There's two books so far. The first one is called Rushing Winter. The second one is called Hunting Winter. They focus on a very specific character whose last name is Winter. Kind of a play on words there, just for titling sake. Character's name is Rushing Winter. As the arc has developed so far, he was kidnapped as a foster child and raised in a school funded by a government defense contractor and somewhat directed by the United States government to become an assassin of sorts. Yes, it's a thriller story that focuses on a kidnapped child who becomes an assassin. What I think sets the character and the writing apart is taking a very strict detail to realism, obviously, in the firearms aspect, because it's my job, and the psychological aspects, because that's something I'm interested in, neurological aspects, because that's something I'm interested in, and just the overall story arc of identifying and developing characters that are not two-dimensional in form. I've read a great deal of mini thrillers in my life, especially being in the Army, lots of downtime, books got passed around. And sometimes characters are cool, but they never really develop themselves to contain multitudes. You don't really get a feel for the character's ideology beyond the purpose or the mission or the drive or the plot device of the book. So I like to kind of try to create characters that are a little bit more specific in that. Another thing that's always bothered me is authors being lazy and or vague with the settings in which the book takes place. I like to kind of develop that out as much as possible. I'm also very, very unlikely to write in a setting that I've never actually been in. In the first and the second book, any location that's being talked about in the book, for the most part, is someplace that I've been, at least geographically speaking, or especially since my character at least starts out based in Atlanta where I live, I like to write about the vibrance and the nature of the city that I live in. So I feel like as an author, if I write from experiences that I have, as many experiences as I have that I can share with the character, it makes for a more identifiable book. Now, for some of you watching this video right now, you're probably like, this has nothing to do with firearms, but it is a questions answered, and I am not defined just by the fact that I am a firearms instructor and I'm involved in the firearms community and the firearms industry. I have hobbies, and one of my hobbies is writing. If you have Kindle or the Kindle app or another device that'll support downloading things from Amazon in book format, you can check out either book, Rushing Winter and Hunting Winter. They're available for a reasonable price for purchase. There are 2 books. There's more coming. I'm working on the 3rd one now. I'm about halfway through it, and once I'm satisfied, I'll be able to publish that in the near future. They're through Amazon and the Kindle app, Kindle app. But I'm not one to use this platform just for self-promotion. I like to answer questions, which is why I do the questions answered videos. I'm not going to do a lot of shameless plugging of the books. But if you're interested in thrillers, I would like for you guys to check them out and tell me what you think. If you haven't read them yet, or if you're planning on reading them, one thing that you may appreciate is the way that I developed my main character, my protagonist. He's a bit of an anti-hero. And the fact that his gun knowledge isn't necessarily as strong as it should be, and he gets to learn things along the way, which you'll see subtly throughout the books as the character progresses. Which I kind of like the idea of a character coming into, even though he's a certified badass in his own right, based on, you know, being trained to be said certified badass. He still needs to grow and develop, and he's always a student, just like we should always be students of whatever craft or trade that we decide to get interested in and involved in and pursue for passion or profession. And it just so happens that my profession is firearms instruction, but my passion has always been creating one thing or another, and I really do enjoy writing. Don't know if I'm very good at it. It's not really my place to say. That's obviously your place to say as the reader. But I hope that answers the question specifically to the books, why I write them and how I write them. I do enjoy writing from the first person, which is why they're written that way. It's really hard for me to speak on this because I don't feel like I should be tooting my own horn kind of thing, but I feel like I've developed a good storyline, and if you stick with the series, it is going to be a multi-book series. I think you'll find that the character development and the overall arc is going to be pretty interesting and scarily similar to some of the things that happen in today's world. Hope that answers the question. If you have any other questions on this topic or any other topic, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. I'm Aaron Cowan with Sage Dynamics. Read accordingly.